Excellencies, distinguished guests, I'd like to welcome you to today's SDG 6 special event. It's a pleasure to moderate today's event in my capacity as the Vice Chair of UN Water, which is the coordination mechanism in the United Nations for water and sanitation. 2 years ago, the SDG 6 Global Acceleration Framework was launched during the high-level political forum, and this framework really aims to unify the international community's support to strengthen the UN system-wide collaboration at country level to deliver as one, to deliver faster results for SDG 6. To maintain momentum, we decided to gather at the HLPF every year to share good practices on accelerating the progress towards SDG 6. And we really want to thank Mr. Liu Zhenmin, the Undersecretary General of UNDESA, for annually co-chairing this special event with the UN Water Chair, Mr. Gilbert Hungbo. This year's special event is indeed quite special because this is the first in-person event that we've had, and it's also the last SDG 6 special event before the upcoming UN 2023 Water Conference. And since we have only 8 months ahead of us, and we're all focused on preparing for this important conference, we've decided to dedicate this year's event to the Water Conference. We will hear updates today from the co-hosts and other distinguished guests on the conference and the outcome of the preparatory meetings. And without further delay, let's start today's event with some opening remarks. So first, it's my pleasure to invite our UN Water Chair, Mr. Gilbert Hungbo, who's joining us virtually from Rome. So Mr. Hungbo, welcome to New York. And we're so happy to have you with us here today. Mr. Hungbo, the floor is yours.
Pardon the interruption, sir. We need to unmute your microphone, please.
Okay. Is that okay now?
Yeah, perfect, Mr. Hungbo.
Thank you, sir.
Could you hear me? So sorry about that. I hope you can hear me clearly now, Excellencies. Thank you for joining us and showing your commitment to the achieving the water and sanitation for all by 2030. I sincerely, Kellyanne, regret that I cannot physically be in New York with you today, but I'm pleased that at least you are there, and the co-chair of this day, Ambassador Liu Zhenmin, the USD Odessa is there as well. So that at least I'm very, very pleased about. So dear colleague, it's now 2 years since we launched the SDG 6 Global Acceleration Framework. And during this time, we know that COVID has taught everyone a quite painful but valuable lesson that a safe and prosperous society depend on public health. And the pandemic also has exposed shocking inequalities. As wave after wave of infection sweeps across the world, those with access to basic services, especially water, sanitation, hygiene, and healthcare, are better able to cope. So we may all be in the same storm, but clearly we are not in the same boat. As we strive to build more resilient economies and societies, water and sanitation must be at the heart of our efforts. However, we are currently off track to achieving the SDG 6 by 2030, since billions of people are living without safely managed water and sanitation. The crisis poses a threat to every aspect of sustainable development. The latest data show we need to work on average 4 times faster to to ensure water and sanitation for all within the next 8 years. The SDG 6 Global Acceleration Framework shows us how to get there. Since 2020, we have been inspired by your commitment to the framework, the Water and Climate Coalition, the Hand Hygiene for All initiatives, the roadmap for the promotion of the human rights to water and sanitation. All of that are all driving progress. At the highest level, from the UN General Assembly to the European Union to the Dushanbe water process, the framework is being used to shape discussions and guide actions. We are picking up speed, but frankly, we need to go much faster. As we prepare for the UN 2023 Water Conference next March, the eyes of the world are upon us. This will be critical moments for everyone working in sustainable development. In our preparations and at the conference itself, everything we do must translate into rapid, concrete, sustainable actions. On behalf of the UN Water family, I would like to say special thanks to Tajikistan and the Netherlands for your determination, your energy and leadership as we approach this historic event. You have consistently reminded us that success will be measured by what we achieve at the country level. So I look forward to learning from all our colleagues so that we can accelerate faster and further and leave no one behind. Thank you so much.
Hungbo, for your welcome remarks, and we take note of the urgency to accelerate our progress. And as you pointed out, that the projection that we need to go 4 times faster to reach our global goal. Thank you so much. Now I would like to welcome Mr. Liu Zhenmin, who is joining us today in 2 special roles. The first one being his role as the Undersecretary General of UNDESA and the Secretary General of the UN 2023 Water Conference to open our event. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelly, for moderating this special event. Mr. Hongbo, UN Water Chair, Ambassador Korosi, the PGA for the 77th session of the General Assembly, Excellencies, distinguished colleagues and partners, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this annual SDG 6 special event convened on the margins of the high-level political forum. Allow me to begin by reiterating the critical point made by my colleague, Mr. Hongbo, of the UN Water Chair, in his welcome remarks. We need to act urgently and decisively to improve access to water and sanitation. Our progress has been too slow. Accelerating and sustaining progress will mean working within the strategies of our SDGs, recognizing important interlinkages between water and sanitation, poverty reduction, climate action, ocean action, and among others. The integrated management of water resources is required more than ever before to at once improve access to clean water, to mitigate the conflicting use of scarce water resources, and to achieve sustainable development. Just last month, at the 2022 UN Water Conference, the high-level symposium on waters convened. It aimed to seek to strengthen coordination between freshwater and ocean policies. This is a welcome step in the right direction. Dear colleagues, I think this year's special event is really special. We are not just convening to improve the interlinkages with the other SDGs, but we're also preparing for the forthcoming UN Water Conference. So from March 22nd to 24th, next year in New York at UN headquarters, the UN 2023 Water Conference will be co-hosted by the Netherlands and Tajikistan with the support of UNDESA and the UN Water. Mr. President, President Korosi, I think you'll be entitled and asked by the General Assembly to convene one-day preparatory meeting in November to decide the themes of the thematic dialogues of this water conference. That's why your participation here is the right approach. So I appreciate and welcome, and we're looking forward to your remarks. For UN Water Conference, I think this is an inclusive, action-oriented, and cross-sectoral conference. Will provide opportunity to review the achievements in the first half of the water action decade and identify the actions needed to move progress forward towards 2028. Voluntary commitments are expected as a key outcome of the conference to accelerate efforts by all partners across sectors. I encourage all actors to announce their commitments and register them in SDG 6 action space managed by UNDESA as a part of the SDG Acceleration Actions platform. SDG 6 action space to date includes 128 activities registered by various stakeholders to share good water practices around the world. The 5 accelerators outlined in SDG 6 Global Acceleration Framework can provide the foundation for your voluntary commitments. The framework's 5 accelerators, namely financing, data and information, capacity development, innovation, and governance, have been widely accepted and utilized as cross-cutting aspects of SDG 6 implementation. This framework has also strengthened the UN system-wide collaboration at the country level. UNDESA, UNESCO, and other 35 UN water members and partners are implementing the SDG 6 Capacity Development Initiative to support governments on the ground. The initiative coordinates different UN water organizations as one and supports countries to develop and implement a national SDG 6 capacity development plan. Colleagues, as we look forward to the UN 2023 Water Conference, I encourage all of you to continue participating in the preparatory process leading to the next March, aimed at teasing out important issues and exploring a range of perspectives, bringing forward important contributions to next year's discussions. In this regard, I look forward to the very rich and constructive discussion today. I thank you.
Your opening, and the UN Water family will continue to support the conference secretariat to make the UN 2023 Water Conference a real watershed moment for all. Thank you. And now for our keynote, it is my honor to introduce our next speaker, His Excellency Mr. Csaba Kőrösi, the President-elect of the 77th session of the United Nations General Assembly. Excellency, thank you for joining us today, and the floor is yours.
Opportunity to be with you and to address you. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. President, USG, the two words, what we heard in the last couple of minutes, most frequently were actions and urgency. Let me add a third one, crisis. Because we all know we are in the middle of a crisis, a multifaceted, multidimensional crisis that is threatening to undermine social, economic progress, social stability, environmental stability. And it is not a prediction, it is happening as we speak. And I fully agree that the 5 accelerators proposed for the March conference are excellent avenues to prepare actions, and 90% of the actions should and will be done on national and regional levels. Is there anything we can add to that to boost implementation? I think there is something, those 10%, what we can achieve jointly here in New York during the serial of events. Since we don't have another 45 years to wait after the Mar del Plata full-fledged water conference, there will be no 45 years ahead of us to expect some breakthroughs. The breakthroughs, on some areas at least, should be reached, achieved now, during the forthcoming 12 months. I would suggest 2 areas of focus now for our common activities here. First is to build a chain of events, building blocks, helping us to achieve success. And the second, to identify 3, 4, 5 areas where we can achieve breakthroughs that will have a domino effect throughout across the field. So about the process first. As USG Liu Zhenmin mentioned, there will be an event, PGA called event in late October, early November on water. I think it should be built on the same logic, same strategy, along the same objectives, what we are trying to design the March large-scale water conference. If we can identify the best goals and the best ways how to achieve our goals in October, November, and work on them, we can have a very good ground to be prepared in March. The second, COP27 in November. The adaptation chapter of the COP27 should reflect the same strategic direction, what we try to unify and identify for the rest of the year. The March summit, on the top of voluntary commitments and on national regional levels, will hopefully reconfirm some of the most important elements of transformation to be pursued at global and regional levels, and it will be a kind of synthesis event in my understanding. Then let's not forget about the midterm review of the Sendai strategy in May. That will greatly benefit from the outcome, what we can achieve in March. And last but not least, next September we are going to have the SDG summit. If we do our work well in October, March and May, it will greatly determine the positive outcome and the honest outcome, helping us to achieve breakthroughs on the SDGs implementation. This is about a unified process. The second, where might be those points, those areas where we can really aspire for breakthroughs as of October through March, May and September. These areas could be for the time being much more than 4 or 5, but we need to discuss it and to narrow them for a very achievable, logical, smaller number. But let me flag up some for your considerations. These are overarching of global character, integration of our climate and water policies and actions. With all its benefits and consequences for environmental, societal, economic, and water aspects. The second, putting data and integrated data management in the center of our actions. Very high on the priority list. It requires global and regional water and climate information systems to be built. It is not a program for 12 months. It's a program for at least 7 to 8 years, but we need to start and we need to achieve them. 3, prevention capabilities must be boosted because we are entering the more difficult phases of crisis. If we don't improve very quickly our prevention capabilities, we'll be in a very difficult situation. It should be not only built, but built on scientific evidence. 4th, significantly improved short, medium, and long-term forecast outlook capability. It also takes a couple of years of hard work to develop it, but without that, it will be very difficult to sustain our development on the long run. Fifth, Global Water Climate Campus. What does it mean? An education and capacity building program across the globe. And last but not least, treating water and climate as global public goods. If we acknowledge that, we acknowledge our shared responsibility. So the timeframes are clear. The priority areas still need discussion. They may need a little bit of narrowing down, but the responsibility is here on all of us, and the forthcoming 12 months will be crucial. Thank you much indeed.
For outlining these important focus areas and this chain of how we can have events so we can have a more unified delivery on the SDGs, linking water, climate, disaster risk reduction, and so many agendas. And I think we're really pleased to hear about your orientations for the PGA meeting that will be coming up in late October or early November, as this is such an important milestone on our roadmap to the 2023 Water Conference. So thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing these orientations. Excellencies, distinguished guests, as we approach March 2023, we've heard how the international community is eager to hear and contribute to the preparatory process for the conference. Today, we're pleased to share the stage with the countries who've hosted the preparatory meetings thus far. And first, I would like to start with inviting Dr. Bettina Hoffmann, the Parliamentary State Secretary from Germany. As many of you know, last year, Germany hosted the first preparatory event, which was the Bond Water Dialogues for Results. And we're very glad to see that the key messages and recommendations from the Bond Water Dialogues for Results 2021 were built on the SDG 6 Global Acceleration Framework. Dr. Hoffmann, please, the floor is yours.
Oh, it's okay. So, Mr. Humbu, Mr. Senmin, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to see that for the second time running, water has been prioritized at the HLPF outside the regular review. I would like to sincerely thank UN Water for establishing and organizing the SDG 6 special event. Water is increasingly at the center of global crises and their solutions. This event therefore underscores how important SDG 6 is for the entire 2030 agenda. We have to be more ambitious and bolder if we want to make full use of the UN 2023 Water Conference. We need accelerated, targeted, and effective progress on SDG 6 and other water-related goals. Germany made a valuable contribution with the Bonn Water Dialogue for Results. The Bonn key messages and recommendations address the UN Water Global Acceleration Framework, and they have already been supported by 64 UN member states. I would like to highlight 3 points from these. First, the outcomes of the Bonn Water Dialogues show that a paradigm shift is needed to close the financing gap in the water sector. We have to tap additional and new sources for financing from the public and private sector. Available funds have to be used more efficiently in the line with our goals. Effective regulation is urgently needed here to ensure the human right to water and sanitation. Second, water does not stop at national borders. The Bonn Water Dialogues demonstrated that transboundary cooperation on water and integrated water resource management offer huge advantages. Given the ever-increasing demand for water, tools like international agreements and conventions can help to strengthen climate resilience, bring about peace and stability, and increase resources and capacities. Third, coherent global water governance is crucial for implementing SDG 6 in all corners of the world. That is why we should jointly promote strong institutions and adopt legal and regulatory framework conditions. This will enable the UN to take a stronger coordination role in the water sector. For 2033, we need to finance and implement the 5 accelerators and cross-sectoral approaches we identified. Pledges and agreements must be honored to ensure that the UN 2033 Water Conference is not just a drop in the ocean. And the issue of water must be anchored on the international agenda at high political level. It is for this reason that I support the idea of appointing a UN Special Envoy on water, as proposed in the Bonn Key Messages, because water needs a more powerful voice. A special envoy on water could make this issue more visible at the highest political level, both within and outside the UN. This envoy could mobilize additional financial resources, facilitate cross-sectoral action, and give vulnerable regions a stronger voice. Ladies and gentlemen, a few days ago, Germany and UN member states from various regions around the world sent a letter to all UN member states asking them to support the appointment of a UN Special Envoy on water. We would be very grateful if you could express your support by signing this letter. This and many other initiatives are an important part of the preparatory process leading up to the UN 2023 Water Conference. They show that we are reaching a turning point to make 2023 the year of water action and all the years after that a true success. Please give us support on this. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hoffman. And now I would like to welcome His Excellency Mr. Xiek Liang, the Ambassador of Senegal to the United Nations. In March, Senegal hosted the 9th World Water Forum in Dakar, and we look forward to hearing today about the outcomes from the forum. And quickly, before I hand over to Ambassador Niang, I wanted to mention that UN Water is developing an SDG 6 country acceleration case study with Senegal. And these case studies aim to support the exchange of lessons learned between countries on how to accelerate progress on SDG 6, which has been an important part about inter-country exchange of experiences. And these case studies look specifically at country achievements to identify best practices while analyzing also how SDG 6 progress can be accelerated on the ground. So these 3 case studies will be produced over the next 3 years. And the first set of case studies is focusing on Costa Rica, Pakistan, and Senegal. And we're going to be launching them at the World Water Week this year in Stockholm. So with that, Ambassador Liang, please, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator, Vice Chair, Kellyanne Naylor. I would like to thank UN Water for bringing us together this morning to discuss the crucial issue of water. The different platforms and processes exist on the thematic of water, which is a complex ecosystem where all its components deserve special attention. And the Dakar 9th World Water Forum is just one of them. Held in March, as you mentioned, March 2022, the 9th World Water Forum focused on 4 priorities, namely, firstly, water security and sanitation. Secondly, water for rural development. Thirdly, cooperation. And fourthly, means and tools to address financing, governance, innovation, and knowledge. The main outcome of the forum is the Dakar Declaration entitled A Blue Deal for Water and Sanitation Security for Peace and Development. It is structured around 5 points. The first one is guarantee the right to water and sanitation for all. The second one is ensure security of the resources and resilience. The third one is ensure adequate funding. The fourth one is ensure inclusive water governance. And finally, the fifth is enhance cooperation. On the operational level, the implementation of the Blue Deal is based on 4 action plans adopted by ministers, parliamentarians, local authorities, and basin organizations. In addition, Several initiatives have emerged from the Dakar Forum, including, I'll just name two of them. First, the International High-Level Panel on Water Investment in Africa to strengthen resilience to climate change, economic shocks, threats to peace and stability. And it will be chaired by the President of Senegal, the President of Namibia, and the Prime Minister of the Netherlands. The panel's objective is to mobilize $30 billion per year until 2030 for the implementation of the African Water Investment Program. The second one I want to mention, the second initiative I want to mention, is the Dakar Water Hub's vision, which is to build a reference framework to catalyze cooperation, inclusive dialogue, and the development of innovative responses in the field of water and sanitation in order to promote integrated water resources management based on hydro-diplomacy and peace. Speaking of cooperation, I would like to share with you the cases of two organizations. The Organization for the Development of the Senegal River, its acronym in French is OMVS, between Mali, Mauritania, Guinea, and my country. And the other one is the Organization for the Development of the Gambia River, OMVG in French, which groups together Gambia, Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, and Senegal as examples that could inspire many countries, because this has shown that we can have stability, we can have cooperation, we can have mutual benefits. The OMVS has made it possible to cover more than 30% of all the state's needs in energy. And with the completion of the ongoing dam construction projects we have in Guinea called Kutu Tamba and the one on the Falémé, which is called Gobasi, OMVS could reach an installed capacity of about 2,000 megawatts, which would largely cover the energy needs of its members and open up the sub-regional market, even importing to neighboring countries. It has also enabled about more than 56,000 small-scale and subsistence farmers, or about 4.5 million people who now have a socio-economic activity. Currently, the major challenge is to exploit the agricultural potential. Out of a potential of about 400,000 hectares of MVS irrigable land, only 52% are managed. So we can do more. I would like also to mention that there are also achievements which have been made within the framework of the OMVG, which is the other organizations, in terms of hydroelectricity. I can mention the Samba Ngulu Dam currently under construction. In terms of irrigation also, in terms of the development of hydraulic infrastructures. But for the sake of time, I will skip over this. In the same way, we have a new project with Mauritania, Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, and Senegal. And we adopted a declaration, ministerial declaration in September 2021 to lay the groundwork for cooperation around the Senegal-Mauritania aquifer basin. And this cooperation aims to promote resilience, sustainable development, and stability in the region through strategic, integrated, and concerted management of groundwater resources. Finally, Excellencies, I remain convinced that only the sharing and integrated management of the resources we share can keep us out of the competition for access, which is often conflictual and takes us always back. I said at the beginning that the water ecosystem is complex, and its complexity challenges us all. This is why the appointment of a special envoy for water is important and necessary if you do not want the fragmentation of this ecosystem to continue. So I thank you.
Thank you, Excellency, for sharing the encouraging outcomes from the Dakar Water Forum, and also the example of successful transboundary water cooperation. I've had the opportunity to visit both river basins and really can testify firsthand to the benefits that it's brought to the populations living there. So thank you so much. It's my pleasure now to invite His Excellency, Mr. Kimura Tetsuya, the Ambassador of Japan to the United Nations. Japan hosted the 4th Asia-Pacific Water Summit in April. Excellency, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Naylor. Mr. Grossi, President-elect, Excellencies, distinguished participants, and thank you for organizing this important event. In April of this year, Japan hosted the 4th Asia-Pacific Water Summit. Approximately 5,500 participants from 30 countries, including 18 heads of state and government, discussed various water-related issues. Leaders of the region reaffirmed the importance of water as they deal with widespread disruptions of the COVID-19 pandemic and increasingly severe and interconnected disaster aggravated by climate change. They adopted the Kumamoto Declaration, which manifests their determination to accelerate effort to realize the transformation towards a quality-oriented society from the perspective of resilience, sustainability, and inclusiveness, stressing the importance of improving governance, closing financial gaps, and engaging the science and technology community. At the summit, Prime Minister Kishida announced the Kumamoto Initiative for Water, which includes Japan's commitment to provide developing countries with financial assistance worth approximately 500 billion Japanese yen over the next 5 years, and to contribute to solving water-related social issues through the development of quality infrastructure utilizing advanced technologies. Japan is promoting digitalization technological development to improve the use of its dams and other infrastructure in order to address climate change. Specifically, Japan is strengthening data sharing among its 1,500 dams and developing technologies to optimize dam inflow forecast and operations using artificial intelligence to maximize the effects of flood control. In addition to dams, Japan is also making efforts to optimize the operation of infrastructure, including sewage systems and agricultural water supply facilities. Based on the wealth of know-how and technology that Japan has cultivated, we will promote the development of quality infrastructure utilizing hybrid technologies that contribute to both climate change adaptation measures, such as improving flood control water utilization capacity, and mitigation measures such as increasing hydroelectric energy. In cooperation and collaboration with other countries, regional, international organizations, Japan will contribute to solving water-related issues around the world. We believe these outputs are inclusive, action-oriented, and cross-sectoral, as agreed in the conference's vision statement, and will contribute to the UN Water Conference next March. Lastly, we would like to express our gratitude to the Netherlands and Tajikistan for hosting the UN 2023 Water Conference. Japan would like to share the necessity of responding to climate change and water-related disasters. We look forward to having deep discussion on addressing these issues at the conference. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency, for sharing the outcomes and commitments coming from the Asia Water Pacific Summit. Thank you. I would like to move next to maybe our most recent event, which was looking at the 2022 Oceans Conference. And I would like now to invite Mr. Paulo Gracia, the Acting Deputy Permanent Representative of Portugal to the UN, to share with us the outcomes from the Oceans Conference. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Excellencies, dear colleagues, Portugal had the pleasure of hosting a high-level symposium of One Water, one of the 4 special events on the second UN Ocean Conference in Lisbon just 2 weeks ago, 27 June, which we co-hosted with Kenya. We sought to bridge SDG 6 and SDG 14, contributing to the preparatory process for the UN Water Conference. In that context, allow me to thank the governments of Argentina, Mozambique, and Singapore for working with us on the preparation of its 3 roundtables, as well as DESA, UN Water, and the governments of the Netherlands and Tajikistan for their relentless support. The event was attended by 500 in-person participants and followed online by more than 1,500 people. I will briefly outline some of the key messages which I think further highlight the coherence of the discussions and the preparatory events that we've been having. First, and as USG Liu already noted, the growing interest of the saltwater and freshwater communities in working more closely together. The oceans are an integral part of the hydrological cycle, and their health depends to a large extent on the management of fresh water. However, the discussions also showed that the road towards greater integration is still long. Large gaps persist in access to safe drinking water and sanitation, as well as in waste management, which are essential for a healthy ocean. Second, the need to strengthen the coordination mechanisms across policy areas. We need a holistic source-to-sea approach to the use of water, and transboundary cooperation is a fundamental component of this approach. Third, we must pay increased attention to coastal wetlands, such as marshes and mangroves, given their fundamental role as carbon sinks. It is also important to protect coastal waters from negative impacts of agricultural effluents and industrial and urban wastewater. Fourth, marine litter is a threat, not just to species and ecosystems, but also for human health. More efforts upstream are needed to curb this problem, and the historic resolution adopted at UNEA 5 needs to be swiftly implemented to this effect. Fifth, the increasing urbanization of coastal areas has not always been followed by the necessary infrastructure. More efficient financial and economic instruments are needed to scale up efforts in this regard. Sixth, climate change is aggravating the challenges for the sustainable management of water. Investments in water and sanitation infrastructure are not enough if they are not accompanied by a genuine strategy for adaptation to the impacts of climate change, including water scarcity and drought. Finally, it is essential to change the paradigm and manage water as a precious resource, providing similar or better services with fewer resources, adopting circular approaches, and improving communication on the value of water, either as fresh or salt water. Bottom-up approaches are also necessary to enhance the involvement of local communities. Partnerships are key, and successful solutions need to be scaled up. Dear colleagues, the chair's summary of the symposium is currently being prepared, and it will be complemented by the written contributions received. Once ready, it will be shared with all the relevant entities, thus informing the preparatory process of the UN Water Conference and other processes related to sustainable development. With that outcome, we hope that the symposium will also not just be a drop in the ocean, but rather a strong flow towards further bridging SDG 6 and SDG 14. I thank you.
Mr. Gracia, for highlighting those outcomes and recommendations and making these important linkages with the source to the sea, which is, of course, very relevant for our discussion today and also looking forward. And on that note, we are now going to look ahead. We've been looking back, and now we're going to look forward. And I would like to give the floor to Her Excellency, Ms. Hiba Mostafa, the Chargée d'Affaires of the Permanent Mission of Egypt to the United Nations. And as we know, Egypt will be both the host of the Cairo Water Week and also the host country of COP27 this year. Thank you, Excellency, and the floor is yours.
And participants and colleagues. Egypt was keen to include the Cairo Water Week within the framework of the preparatory meetings towards the UN 2023 Water Conference to provide substantive inputs to the conference. The last one was held in October 2021 and brought together more than 3,000 participants from Africa and the Middle East, from 38 countries and 15 organizations that involved ministers, senior officials, academia, and civil society. And this culminated in the Cairo conclusions, which focused on 5 main areas: water scarcity and accessibility, water and climate finance, innovation, and transboundary cooperation. And allow me to elaborate on some of the key messages that relate to these 5 key areas. First, on water scarcity and accessibility. Access to water affects a range of human rights, and it's a wide range of human rights, such as the right to life, health, food, safe drinking water, and sanitation, which is evident, environment, which is in the making, and other rights as well. And the UN system and its relevant entities should work to support water-scarce countries to deliver on their commitments related to the 2030 Agenda. Second, on water and climate cooperation. Climate change affects water availability and demand, and this requires a holistic and cooperative approach to link up water and climate. And this has been elaborated also in previous interventions. More details we will provide tomorrow in our meeting tomorrow on this specific point. On finance, incorporating sustainable financing, regulation, monitoring, reporting, and maintenance mechanisms into all water-related project interventions can mobilize action at all levels of government and service providers to ensure water security for all rather than scarcity. Fourth, on innovation, utilizing non-conventional water resources in water-scarce countries has to be supported by appropriate technology transfer, financing, capacity building, that involves national and regional institutions and research centers and also utilizes local knowledge. Fifth and last, on transboundary cooperation. Political dialogue and water diplomacy are critical in the framework of conflict prevention and cooperation building. Peace and sustainable development around shared water resources contribute to regional stability and security. Strengthening transboundary water cooperation is essential for achieving water-related SDGs and the broader sustainable development goals. And this cooperation needs to be based on the rules and principles of applicable international law. Distinguished colleagues and participants, the Cairo conclusions were submitted to the SG of the UN 2023 Water Conference and the co-hosts, the Netherlands and Tajikistan. And in preparation for the upcoming Cairo Water Week, we are working on developing Cairo conclusions through a series of regional and international events in cooperation with relevant organizations and partners. We will aim to adopt action-oriented outcomes during the 5th edition of the Cairo Water Week in October 2022 in order to submit concrete proposals to the UN 2023 conference. And allow me at the end to reiterate Egypt's commitment to the process of the UN 2023 Water Forum in order to raise ambition to grant the global water agenda, our source of life, the much required attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency, for the preview of these upcoming events, which are important, likewise important milestones, and also outlining how they will make concrete contributions to our water journey. Thank you. I want to likewise thank all of our distinguished speakers again for sharing these outcomes and the valuable contribution from these preparatory meetings. And now it's my great pleasure to welcome the co-hosts of the UN 2023 Water Conference, Tajikistan and the Netherlands, for being with us today. Representing Tajikistan, I would welcome again Mr. Sultan Rahimzoda, the Special Envoy of the President of the Republic of Tajikistan on Water Affairs. And representing the Netherlands, I would like to warmly welcome Mr. Henk Ovink, Special Envoy for the International Water Affairs of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Thank you both for joining us again here in New York. First, Mr. Rahimzoda, we heard from the host countries of the preparatory meetings, and as we know, last month, Tajikistan hosted the very successful second Dushanbe Water Conference. Over 2,500 participants from 170 countries and 75 official delegations attended the conference. So can you share with us some of the outcomes of the Dushanbe conference and your perspectives looking ahead? The floor is yours.
Excellencies, dear participants, it's a great pleasure for me to present the outcomes of the second Dushanbe Water Action Decade Conference hosted by Government of Tajikistan in partnership with UN and other partners under patronage of Honorable President of the Republic of Tajikistan, His Excellency Mr. Emomali Rahmon. The conference was co-chaired by Prime Minister of the Republic of Tajikistan and USG for Economic and Social Affairs, Mr. Liu Zhenmin, and taking this opportunity, I would like to thank Mr. Liu Zhenmin and his team for supporting us in this process. This conference in Dushanbe was a second among the series of the conferences on Water Action Decade. The government of Tajikistan decided to host biennially for provision of platform for UN member states and other stakeholders to discuss the achieved progress and the existing obstacles towards the objectives of the International Decade for Action Water for Sustainable Development. It is well known as Dushanbe Water Process. The Dushanbe conference attracted a lot of attention, as you mentioned, Kellyanne, about the big attendees to join us in Dushanbe. And one of the main reasons was I think, 2023 conference, since the UNGA resolution about the modalities of the UN 2023 conference specifically mentioned the Dushanbe conference as a milestone. And that's why I think conference was extremely well attended despite the COVID-19 crisis and the other challenges we have today. Additional platform in the Dushanbe conference has been given to youth, women, indigenous people, and local communities through organization of different fora to discuss the priority themes of the conference from their perspective. And I think one of the key elements of the Dushanbe process was also the inclusivity in terms of preparation, because we have the International Advisory Committee consisting of 30 eminent experts co-chaired by Tajikistan and the World Bank, and all the process, the preparation of the conference was done by this committee in a very inclusive and participatory approach. Significant contribution in this process has been made by also by members of the steering committee of the Group of Friends of Water in New York, and taking this opportunity, I would like to sincerely thank them for their contribution in this process. And all of this and action-oriented spirit of the conference also served as a basis for the success of the conference. The conference program has been enriched also with different sports and cultural events, including the Global Marathon Run Blue, Water Festival, International Exhibition, Excursion, and etc., which make the Dushanbe the city of the water celebration for those days. We really had a great celebration of water in Dushanbe during those days. And indeed, these events greatly helped to raise the awareness about the water decade. Basically, when we are talking about the UN Water Conference in 2023, it is a midterm review of the International Decade for Action Water for Sustainable Development. The Dushanbe process and indeed the UN 2023 Water Conference itself, as well as to exchange the best practices, expertise, and knowledge. Distinguished participants, the final declaration of the conference, entitled From Dushanbe 2022 to New York 2023, was prepared in very inclusive manner. It was developed by advisory committee members, shared among the UN member states in New York. So, we use also different platforms, also share it with the different stakeholders to receive their feedbacks. And we received more than 700 inputs from around 100 partners to make the declaration substantive and impactful. The Dushanbe Declaration calls on the international community to unite efforts, take new commitments, catalyze and accelerate actions and partnerships to achieve the targeted goals. The important part of the declaration is the key messages to New York, highlighting the importance of the 2023 Water Conference to make the change. The messages include some new ideas and initiatives, actions and partnerships to be scaled up to make the impact. Development of the Water Action Agenda as an outcome of the UN 2023 conference. Establishment of global water and climate information services, it was mentioned already and initiated by WMO within the Water and Climate Coalition leaders. Development of national water roadmaps or strategies, declaring the International Year of Glacier Preservation in 2025. Development of a Water and Climate Youth Development Plan Agenda are among those key messages included in the Dushanbe Declaration. Dushanbe became a real milestone for the 2023 conference. It was built on the outcomes of the first Dushanbe conference in 2018, the PGA high-level meeting in March 2021, HLPF, the Bonn Water Dialogue, the 9 World Water Forum, the 4th Asia-Pacific Water Summit, and focused on how to catalyze and accelerate actions to achieve SDG 6 and other water-related goals. Thus, Dushanbe Conference made a significant contribution to linking the chain of regional and global events within the UN 2023 conference. Dushanbe also helped to raise awareness about this historic event next year in New York, its importance, the opportunities and valuable input it could provide to all the community to make the real change. The speeches by Honorable President of Tajikistan and Prime Minister of the Netherlands, with special focus to the UN 2023 conference, special pavilion, special session, media briefing, interviews, and valuable intervention by my dear colleague and friend and brother Henko Wing at the closing ceremony of the conference really made the great attraction of the attendees to this historical water conference in 2023. We joined our hands, all the conference participants, by request of Henko Wing, basically, to join our efforts towards 2023. Great contribution in this process has been done by Global Marathon, run by well-known water, environment, climate activist, Australian marathonist Mina Guli. As you may know, basically, Run Blue started on 22nd of March on the World Water Day in Australia and consists of 200 marathons in different parts of the world with involvement of 200 million people and 200 private companies to take commitments to accelerate actions to achieve SDG 6 and other water-related goals. And in marathon, the Central Asia part started from the dried bottom of the Aral Sea and went to the high mountain in Tajikistan, to glaciers in Tajikistan, and it was dedicated to the 2023 conference and the involvement of as many as possible stakeholders in this preparatory conference. It's really great. The last marathon will be organized in New York 1 or 2 days before the conference, and it's really, that make a big attraction to the 2023 conference. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2023 conference will be the second UN conference dedicated to water after almost 50 years. Tajikistan and the Netherlands will co-host this global gathering, and we are striving to make it a historic event, not only in terms of the time dimension, but also for its impact and results. Meanwhile, the 2023 is considered to be important in terms of the midterm review of the Sustainable Development Goals too. It also coincides with a midterm review of the implementation of the Sendai Framework on disaster risk reduction. This is a good opportunity for all of us to review and assess the achieved progress and the gaps and constraints we face in the implementation of these goals, to strengthen cooperation and partnership, to catalyze and accelerate actions towards achieving the internationally agreed water-related goals and targets, including those contained in the Development Agenda 2030. Tajikistan and the Netherlands, leading the preparatory process of this global event, have been putting a lot of efforts and strive to make it a watershed moment for the world. We are committed to continue our efforts in this direction and invite all parties to join us in this process. We are honored to co-chair with our Dutch friends this historical water conference. It is a trust of the world community to us, but also a big responsibility. Our collaborative work with the Netherlands and DESA and the UN Water toward 2023 conference has showed us that together we are able to achieve more success. Two countries with different nature and culture, from mountains and deltas, from source to sea, developed and developing, upstream and downstream, are collaborating for one goal, one target, water. That's a good example of how water can connect and unite us. So let's be united toward 2023 conference and to make it really watershed moment for the world. And I hope that the Dushanbe water spirit will bless us to have a success in New York. Thank you very much for your attention.
Mr. Ramzoda, and I think just really sharing how, demonstrating the action orientation, inclusiveness, partnership, and if I can, fun, which I think we hope to be part of what is uniting us all together in this journey. And also I think importantly outlining how we're not only building towards a water conference, but also the Water Action Decade and the SDGs, that this is a marathon and a sprint. Now I would like to turn to Mr. Henk Ovink. Mr. Ovink, we're all very interested in hearing the co-host proposals on the themes of the interactive dialogues and other preparatory processes towards 2023. The floor is yours.
Yes. Thank you very much, Kellyanne. Thanks, UN Water and UN DESA. Thanks, President of the General Assembly-elect, Csaba Karosi. Thank you, my dear brother Sultan, for being here together. 2023 is around the corner. It is just a couple of months. And the Netherlands and Tajikistan work closely together with all of you to make this a watershed moment for the world. Sultan already told you a bit about how this partnership empowers us to understand better. A low-lying delta country in Europe, islands in the Caribbean. Our highest point in the Netherlands is the lowest point physically in Tajikistan. So where we stop, they start. Our friendship, partnership became a friendship in understanding the many aspects what water brings us, the values, but also the challenges. And I think the friendship we build and the partnership we build and the knowledge we share from source to sea should also ripple across the world. Water always brings us together, but also can divide the world. I think the partnership we share here in this room and beyond, and the partnership of the Netherlands and Tajikistan, should be an example on how we should join hands, moving forward, scale up our efforts, our ambitions, and replicate and ripple them across the world. So thank you very much, both Sultan, Ambassador Yonibek, and the government of Tajikistan for this amazing partnership. Second, the conference, we waited 46 years. We can't wait another 46 years. We won't. There won't be another conference around the corner. We also should not need another conference around the corner. This better be good. And we need you all across every sector, every background, place, age, across the world, because we can only do this together. And this should not be about words. It should be about actions. Actions and real commitments. So not promises, not pledges, not ask, but the things we will do and the things we will scale. And we want to bring them together in this water action agenda, an action agenda to get the world on track, where water really is the lever for sustainable development across the whole 2030 agenda. This is not an SDG 6 conference, this is a water conference bringing every aspect of sustainable development together. So we need your actions, but they better be bold and transformative, because we need the game changers. And how to make this conference a watershed moment for the world? Well, there's a structure of the conference, there's a high-level part, we have 5 interactive dialogues, special events, side events, and around that, as Sultan already addressed, hopefully this cultural part where it's really about understanding, valuing water in the many aspects. To structure the conference, the commitments, and the interactive dialogues, we asked for your input this spring on the themes of the interactive dialogues that will help structure the conference, its preparatory process, as well as the outcome and the commitment. We got valuable input from you, member states, UN agencies, but also from many, many organizations and individuals across the world, civil society, private sector, youth, academia, and beyond. You can all find it on the website and the website page of the conference. That input that we gathered this spring was matched with the input that came from the preparatory process. And we just heard the representations from Germany, Senegal, Japan, and Portugal in delivering the input for, as well as, of course, for Tajikistan from the Dushanbe conference. We had the Bonn Water Dialogues for Results, the Dakar World Water Forum, the Kumamoto Asia-Pacific Water Summit, the Lisbon Ocean Conference. We were also in Glasgow for the COP, and of course the Dushanbe Second High-Level International Conference on the International Decade for Action, Waters for Sustainable Development. That was where and when we brought it all together, and the outcome of Dushanbe document reflects our deliberations. It's also where we launched the Water Action Agenda to bring all our commitments, small and big. Major stepping stone moments, but now we moved ahead. We combined the input from all of your suggestions and proposals this spring and the outcomes of these stepping stone moments as building blocks to help to get to a first set of 5 themes. We looked at the critical challenges the world is faced with. In this pandemic, it's about health and the security of the most vulnerable. In the current climate crisis, water is front and center for both mitigation and adaptation. Security and partnership goes beyond all borders, and a development and investment frame based on a comprehensive and inclusive approach is of critical need. Inequality, poverty, conflict, migration, injustice, and more all inform the challenges we face, but also the opportunity water brings. And this is where we need the game changers. We based our grouping on the 3 pillars of the UN 2023 Water Conference: inclusive, cross-sectoral, and action-oriented. And we grouped the challenges according to the opportunities and water's capacity to be the lever for sustainable development across the 2030 agenda. Without further ado, our draft themes are 1, water for health. Access to safe drinking water, hygiene and sanitation, touching upon anything SDG 6 brings, as well as SDGs 1, 3, 4, 5, and 17. Second, water for development, meaning valuing water, the water-energy food nexus, and sustainable economic and urban development. Mixing SDG 6, 2, 8, 9, 11, and 12. Third, water for climate, resiliency, and environment. From source to sea, biodiversity, climate, resiliency, and disaster risk reduction. Combining SDG 6 with 11, 13, 14, and 15. 4, water for cooperation, transboundary and international water cooperation, but also cross-sectoral cooperation and water across the 2030 agenda. Seeing the mixes between SDG 6, 16, and 17. And last but not least, this is the conference on the midterm review of the Water Action Decade. So the fifth theme is about the Water Action Decade, and especially on the acceleration of the implementation of the objectives of the decade, including through the UN Secretary-General's Action Plan. This is a first draft proposals by the co-host to discuss and reflect upon. And for that, we will send out a note next week to all of you that will outline the process. In short, the letter next week with the draft themes again and information on the process. We'll organize a technical briefing here in New York on the themes with interaction at the UN at the end of August. We organize a discussion on the themes at the meeting of the Group of Friends on Water in September. In between that, we try to organize a roundtable in Stockholm at the World Water Week to get input from the people that are there. And of course, we will have additional written feedback from all of you. And then, when we land end of October, beginning of November, at the PGA event, that is where we will decide as a world on the themes of the conference. We very much look forward to the coming months to work with you, not only to agree upon the themes, but to get to the actions that are needed, the game changers that will help set the world on track, on our way to a sustainable, just and resilient future. We need you all. Thank you very much.
And Mr. Zoda for sharing this vision of the watershed moment for the world and for these proposals, draft proposals for the themes of the conference. I think we can now very clearly see the pathway leading to 2023 and outlining how the conference is going to be taking place. I did also want to remind everyone that tomorrow we will have the SDG 6 special event virtual dialogue tomorrow from 8:30 to 10:30. Mr. Zoda and Mr. Ovink will be speaking with us about the Water Action Agenda, and we'll have in-depth panel discussions there. So please do join us. I did also want to take note of time, which is moving very, very quickly, and we have a number of speakers left with 25 minutes to go. So please do be mindful of time. With that, we will now move to our next speaker, which is coming from a perspective of a UN agency that has been a strong supporter and champion of the SDG 6 Global Acceleration Framework since its inception, the World Meteorological Organization. And it's my pleasure to welcome Professor Petteri Talas, the Secretary General of WMO. Mr. Talas, thank you so much for joining us here in New York, and please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks, colleagues, for the opportunity to address you. And I'm also a great friend of concrete action, what WMO is for. So we are the specialized agency on weather, climate, and water, and we are running global network of observations in real time to monitor the weather, climate, and also water, and also atmospheric composition. We are also the host agency of IPCC, and we are the messengers of bad news when it comes to climate. And we just recently reported that we have again broken records in main greenhouse gases. We have seen a record in sea level rise, melting of glaciers, acidification of the ocean, and so forth. And impacts of climate change, they are very much felt through water. This misleading term, global warming, shouldn't be used so much because temperature is only one component of climate change, but the main impacts of climate change, they are felt through water. And we have seen a five-fold increase in economic losses during the past 50 years. During the past 20 years, 2 billion people have been exposed to major flooding event. Also last year we saw major flooding problems in China, India, even in Germany and Belgium, where the early warning services were not very functional. 1.5 billion have been exposed to drought problems during the past 20 years, and last year we saw severe drought problems also on this continent and also many other parts of the world. And the long-term trends for the future, they don't look very promising. IPCC published its Working Group 1 report a year ago, where they demonstrated that we are supposed to see major problems with soil moisture worldwide, and that's going to have a negative impact on our food production capacity, whereas at the same time the population is growing in many parts of the world, Africa, Central Asia, and also some other parts of the world. So the demand of water resources is growing, and demand for food is growing, and at the same time we are having this negative impact of climate change, which is actually affecting about half of the sustainable development goals in a negative manner. Secretary General Guterres gave us a major mandate some months ago to prepare an early warning service proposal to be approved by the COP27, and at the moment only half of our 193 members have proper early warning services in place, and that means that when high impact weather events or drought or flooding season or El Nino La Nina is hitting those countries, both the human losses and the economic losses and human suffering is much greater. That's why we have created already certain programs to improve the situation. First, we have to invest in the basic observing systems. We have major gaps in our observing systems in African countries, Caribbean and Pacific islands. That means that the early warning service quality is automatically poor. If you don't have data, then the results are poor. We have also been helping countries to build human capacity. We have a cruise program, a climate risk early warning service program ongoing. And then we have created Water Climate Coalition, where we have had key players like Tajikistan, Hungary, and several ministers and high-level people, including also private sector, present. And we have made an action plan to create a global water monitoring system and related service system. And that's also one component of the early warning service package for which we are seeking for support at the forthcoming COP27. We have had excellent collaboration with Egypt in preparation of that meeting, and we have a common understanding that early warning services and also this water dimension of it, they are going to be critical outcomes. Yesterday I had meetings with Secretary General Guterres, and he's also personally very committed to support these efforts. And of course we have been facing this COVID problem during the past 2 years, which has had an impact on practically all of us on this planet, and also on economies and human well-being in many ways. And we have created fairly massive mitigation means for that. At the moment we are facing this war in Ukraine and its consequences on global economy and global food security. But those two are short-term challenges. The long-term challenge for us is going to be climate mitigation, and the magnitude of the problems that we will face if we fail with climate mitigation is going to be of different scale than the crisis of COVID and war in Ukraine. And from our side, we are committed to improve the scientific knowledge and early warning services, and hopefully we will be successful in climate mitigation. We have already lost the sea level rise and the glacier melting game because of the high level of carbon dioxide, and unless we create means to remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, we will see this sea level rise and the melting of glaciers to continue for the coming centuries anyhow. That's my intervention, and thanks for the opportunity to address you. Thank you.
And I think you've outlined, the areas that we are prioritizing, and also the great momentum and concrete efforts to better align, accelerate, and coordinate on water and climate. So thank you very much. And just to note, tomorrow, the Netherlands and Tajikistan will host an event focusing on water and climate adaptation in the same room at 1 p.m. So please do join us tomorrow to discuss further on this topic. Excellencies and colleagues, now we are going to move to the open dialogue. We have received a few requests prior to this event, so we'll start by calling on those of you who have requested the floor. We will have to leave the room at 9:30, so please do keep your interventions within 3 minutes or as short as possible. We will be starting with Switzerland, followed by Slovenia, Finland, and the Czech Republic on behalf of the European Union. So I would like to first start with Switzerland, and we have Mr. Christian Futiger, the Ambassador and Assistant Director General and Head of Global Cooperation from the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation. Yes, there you are.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as the start of the biggest UN Water Conference since 46 years draws closer, we would really like to commend all actors, in particular the co-hosts from Tajikistan and the Kingdom of the Netherlands, but also UNDESA, UN Water, and everybody else for all their efforts. Through the conference, we hope that water becomes our common concern, both in terms of financial mobilization, but also political prioritization, and is placed at the center of the global agenda for sustainable development. Let me repeat what has been said before. Water challenges can only be addressed through a multi-sectoral approach that includes action against climate change, biodiversity loss, and environmental pollution, eradicating poverty and hunger, securing health and education, as well as fostering peace and stability. Switzerland, therefore, suggested the conference's interactive dialogue should address the following interlinkages. The 5 interlinkages between water, climate, water health, water food, water environment pollution, and the water and peace nexus. As you know, Switzerland has a particular interest in the water and peace nexus, including transboundary cooperation, which we hope and we expect to be part of the dialogues, and the cooperation pillar seems to come very close to that. We have seen the importance of this transboundary cooperation through the concrete examples from Senegal, but also from Egypt and in many other parts of the world. Furthermore, Switzerland supports the call for the establishment of a special envoy on water who will carry forward the outcome of the conference. So, like Germany, we invite all UN member states to join this call and sign the letter which is in circulation. So, ladies and gentlemen, this conference better be good. It is our common goal to make this a turning point to secure a water secure world for all. Switzerland will continue to support you, will continue to be at the table, and we will continue to contributing to making it good. Thank you very much.
Ambassador from Switzerland. We're going to change the order and move next to the EU. And we have with us Ambassador Jakob Kalnehek, the permanent representative of the Czech Republic on behalf of the European Union. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to deliver this statement on behalf of the European Union and its member states. The UN 2023 Water Conference should be the opportunity to mobilize all stakeholders and sectors and further catalyze political momentum on water before, during, and after the conference. The stakes and urgency are high, as made very clear today and during all preparatory events. The EU calls for concrete outcomes of the conference, with the aim of accelerating the achievement of water-related goals and targets of the 2030 agenda and getting SDG 6 back on track. Water diplomacy, strong leadership, and proactive political dialogue are required. In that regard, we welcome the priority and momentum given by the President-elect of the 77th session of the General Assembly to the preparation of the conference. We welcome your ambition, as well as that of the co-hosts, to reach concrete results through an inclusive and multi-sectoral process, an ambitious water action agenda, and transformative partnerships. We take note of the proposal made regarding the themes of the interactive dialogues and stand ready to engage with all member states in the coming months to ensure that the conference addresses all angles of the water agenda in a cross-sectoral manner, as called for during the member states and stakeholder consultation organized by UN DESA. We congratulate Germany, Senegal, Japan, Tajikistan, and Portugal for the important preparatory events reported today. We also thank the UN Economic Commissions for ensuring that regional considerations feed into the process through their preparatory meetings. Coming back to the two most recent meetings, the high-level symposium in Lisbon brought up key messages on the need to better integrate SDG 6 and SDG 14 while considering the full water cycle. Strengthening source-to-sea approaches will be essential in that regard. The EU and its member states also thank Tajikistan for the declaration adopted in Dushanbe, which provides another contribution to the preparation of the conference. The declaration is a relevant stepping stone regarding the priorities for the 2023 conference. Still, we consider that the declaration should be reinforced on several points. Water governance needs to be strengthened at all levels, including through integrated water resources management and transboundary, regional, and basin cooperation as a prerequisite for ensuring current and future water availability, ecosystems health, and sustainable water services, and as tools for conflict prevention, peace, security, and stability. We therefore strongly support the globalization of the UNICI Water Convention, enhancing action across the water, energy, food nexus, and linkages with the biodiversity and climate agenda, as well as more effective implementation of water policies at all levels will be critical not only for achieving SDG 6 and the Agenda 2030 as a whole. The EU and its member states support the establishment of the UN Secretary General's Special Envoy on Water, who would significantly contribute to stronger advocacy and coherence of water efforts inside and outside of the UN, ensuring a human rights-based and gender-responsive approach and applying open, transparent, and democratic processes to water governance is essential to fulfill the human right to safe and clean drinking water and sanitation, as well as other water-related human rights, and to guarantee that no one is left behind. These are some of the important elements that we should work on together in the coming months. Again, we count on the full commitment of you can count on the full commitment of the EU and its member states in this process. I thank you.
Thank you to the EU. And we really have just a few minutes, so if our next two speakers could keep it to 2 minutes. Slovenia, next, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kellyanne. Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, allow me to start by saying we align, of course, with the statement delivered by the Czech Republic on behalf of the EU. And I will continue where my colleague stopped with human rights to water and its importance. And also our Egyptian colleague mentioned that this human right is instrumental in securing other human rights, such as the right to dignity, food, health, and clean and healthy environment. In my country, we have the human right to water inscribed in our constitution, and we call upon other countries to follow suit. We heard also about the importance of a multi-stakeholder, gender-responsive, cross-sectoral, transparent, and democratic governance, which improves human security, livelihoods, resilience, and economic development. However, effective water governance does not stop at national borders, and we've heard about the importance of transboundary water cooperation and how this can lead to other forms of peaceful cooperation and regional integration, how it can promote sustainable development, environmental protection, disaster preparedness, and climate resilient water resources management, thus contributing to peace and security beyond national borders. And it is most effective when conducted in accordance with international law and within the legal framework of the 2 UN water conventions, while supported by robust and flexible river basin mechanisms. And these are not just words. This has been the experience of my country, Slovenia. I was happy to hear that transboundary water cooperation is among the draft proposals for the themes for interactive dialogues. And we hope that this will be also one of the priorities at the UN 2023 conference in general. And we also hope that a number of countries will announce their commitment to join one or both UN water conventions at the conference. Water runs through all SDGs, but we need to turn the tide on cross-sectoral cooperation of water-related goals and targets of the Agenda 2030 in all 5 areas of the SDG acceleration framework. We heard today about the Bonn key messages. They offer valuable recommendations in this regard. Transcending the fragmentation and silos approach in governance is key at all levels, local, national, regional, and the UN level. And we consider that strengthening UN water and the enhancement of UN system-wide approach to water should be an overarching priority for the 2023 conference. And to galvanize the political will and strengthen coherence of action and mobilize additional funding, we of course support the call for a UN Special Envoy for Water who would strengthen the international water voice, cross-sectoral connections, and also secure the follow-up of the outcomes of the 2023 conference. We heard the calls, Hank, Sultan, about the need for high ambition and clear commitments, and this is what Slovenia intends to do. We will come to New York next March to present tangible, replicable, and scalable deliverables as our contribution to a more water-secure world. Thank you.
First of all, let me thank the organizers of this excellent event today and express Finland's full appreciation to the co-hosts of the 23 conference, the Kingdom of the Netherlands and Tajikistan, for your ambitious work during these crucial months leading up to the conference. We fully align ourselves with the statement made just now by the European Union. The 23 conference can be the moment through which the world sets a path towards ensuring water security for all. And the cross-regional statement on water in 2021 shows that there is broad consensus on advancing water issues within the UN membership. We need to work together to turn that broad consensus into action. The themes of the interactive dialogues will significantly influence whether the conference will be the turning point we are striving for. We thank the co-hosts for introducing the ideas for the themes today, and we look forward to finalizing these over the next few months in line with the modalities resolution. Finland considers it essential that the themes include closing the financing gap for water and enhancing water governance, and we greatly appreciate the inclusion of transboundary cooperation in these proposed themes. Ensuring the human rights to water and sanitation should feature prominently, as stated by Slovenia just now, and I did note that these seems to be missing from the proposed ideas. As stated by several of the speakers today, the conference needs to generate concrete results, and in this regard, we welcome the launch of the Water Action Agenda. We express our full support for the establishment of the post of a special envoy on water to provide leadership within the UN on water. And we also consider it essential that we take concrete steps to move towards a UN system-wide approach to water. However, transformative change can only be achieved through multi-stakeholder cooperation. Therefore, in the commitments for the Water Action Agenda, we encourage a focus not just on national commitments, which are important, but also on building coalitions in the lead up to the conference that can bring together a range of stakeholders on issues such as capacity building, water information services, and investments. Such coalitions could be launched at the conference and would be a concrete outcome. So thank you once again for organizing this event today, and we look forward to the continued discussions and engagement in the time leading up to the conference.
Thank you to Finland. Excellencies, dear colleagues, we have come up to the end of our time for today. We thank you very much for the fruitful discussion. We thank very much the Netherlands, Tajikistan for your tremendous leadership and partnership that is kind of guiding us on this journey, and to all of the countries who are making so many real and substantive commitments to making this a successful watershed moment for the world. And of course, thank you to our President-elect for joining us. With that, thank you so much, and we hope to see you in the coming days at the additional water events coming up tomorrow, and also in our busy roadmap up to March 2023 and beyond. Thank you very much, and have a great day.